Hello and welcome to the Supportive Care Services virtual Lunch and Learn series. We've created a series of Lunch and Learn videos to help you be successful when navigating your cancer journey. Our Supportive Care Services department is here to help you get actively involved in your healing process. For more information about the Supportive Care Services department, please email socialwork@ironwoodcrc.com.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us today for our Ironwood Lunch and Learn. Today we are joined with Jessica Wells, one of our Ironwood social workers, who is going to be discussing a topic that is very tough topic for our patients that are parents, and that is how to help your child cope with your cancer diagnosis. Jessica, thank you so much for joining us for this discussion and offering some guidance on this topic. I know cancer can be a very scary thing for many people, and it weighs heavy when you receive a cancer diagnosis and you need help to navigate the situation with your children. So thank you for joining us.
No, it's my pleasure to be here.
So I do have a few questions from our viewers, and wanted to see if you could go through these with us and maybe just give us some insight on how to best handle these situations.
Okay.
So to begin with, not all children are going to understand cancer diagnosis similarly. Excuse me. Can you please explain the different ways a parent can bring up their diagnosis based on their child's age and maturity, and how much information is too much information?
One of the first things I would say is to remember that as the parent, you're the expert on your child. You know what works best for your child. You know what works best for you and your family dynamic. So always lead with that. So again, these are just some suggestions. You definitely want to meet your child where they're at developmentally. So one of the things to also remember is not to lie to your child. A lot of times, families, parents, other loved ones want to use a different word in lieu of cancer. I would highly recommend that you use the word cancer and explain what that is. It can help to make it more normal for them, but then also if they're, say, at school or with another family member or a friend and say cancer, or hear someone say cancer, it won't be a shock to them if you're calling it something different. So one, calling it what it is, cancer, and then also giving them the information in a way that's age appropriate. So if they are a little bit younger, it's fine to say mommy or daddy is sick, or even grandma, grandpa is sick. They have what's called cancer, and kind of explain that. They're working with the doctors. The doctors are going to be working very hard to help mommy, daddy, grandma, grandpa, whoever get better, etc. With teens, of course, you can maybe get a little bit more specific if you need or want to. Those types of things, of course, you know your child best, you know what their level of understanding is.
All right, thank you for that. Now, what are some common behavioral changes in children or teens that a parent may come across as a result of, sharing their diagnosis with their child?
Yeah, I think it can run the gamut. So sometimes you will see children, teens included, who withdraw. They become very reclusive. They put distance between themselves and the family, themselves and the parent that is impacted by the illness. So you can see withdrawal. Sometimes, a lot of times in younger children, you can see some regression in the form of clinginess. The separation anxiety kicks back in, overly emotional when you have to say goodbye, not wanting to leave your side, fear of you dying, those types of things. Sometimes there can also be a lot of questions about death. For example, I've seen a kiddo where their mom had cancer and he would start anything in the house. Can I have this when you die? Can I have this when you die? And it was how he was processing it, which can be very shocking, but it offered an opportunity for her to sit down with him and say, it sounds like you're really concerned about mommy dying. Let's talk about that type of thing. So those are some things, the child becoming concerned that something bad is going to happen to them. And of course, there's times where there's lashing out, right? Behavior outbursts, tantrums, defiance, those things. It can be helpful to let your child's school know what's going on as well, so they can help support them in that environment and give them a little bit of grace if they do start to have some behavioral issues and changes in the school environment as well too. But definitely giving your child a safe space and outlet, but also letting them know, hey, it's not okay to lash out and punch somebody in the face. We need to talk about your feelings, those things.
All right. Now, many of our patients are in chemo or radiation, and oftentimes the side effects of these treatments, can make a parent, more tired or just, feel like their health is not obviously optimal. So, how can parents explain to their children that they're experiencing these side effects as a result of their treatment? And, how can they also spend time or involve their children in their life a little bit, when they have this diagnosis?
Absolutely. So again, on how explained it to your child in regards to how you've named the illness, how you've talked about, the type of treatment that you're going to be getting. It is okay to say I'm getting chemotherapy, radiation. For a smaller child, it just may be, or I'm getting medicine. The medicine may make me sick, those things. And just communicating with your child of, I'm not feeling well right now. I need to rest. And there's definitely ways that you can continue to have that quality time and do fun things with your children. It just may look different. So maybe it's, once a week, you guys now do a family movie night and your child gets to pick the movie they want to watch. They get to pick their favorite snack to have while they watch the movie or something like that. And you can set it up as like family cuddle time or something. Or, do a family game night or something like that that can be engaging. So maybe it's, if your child is playing, you being right there in the room with them as they're playing and asking them to include you in that. Oh my gosh, show me how tall you can do the blocks. Or, if it's a teen, what are you listening to? Listening to music with them or something that they enjoy. So you're still able to have those quality moments, even though you may not necessarily have the strength to like go outside and run, jump, and play with them like you normally would.
It's a great ideas. Now, my child wants to be a caregiver. I don't want them to stress about my health. So, how can my child help, or how can I involve them in my care without burdening them?
Yeah, of course. And I think that happens a lot. Kids get worried about their parents and want to then try to protect them, be overly helpful. I think it is okay to reassure them that it's still okay for them to have fun. A lot of times kids can experience a sense of guilt that they still want to have fun and go hang out with their friends and do those things when mom or dad aren't feeling well. So I think reassuring them, hey, it's still okay to have fun. You don't need to be here to take care of me. Mom, dad, whoever, we're in good hands, those types of things. But if there is something that you see that they're really, passionate about doing, then maybe it's saying, hey, can you be my special helper and go grab me a cup of water? Or, the best thing that you can do to help take care of me is to sit here with me and tell me about your day. Or even maybe if your child is having some behavioral issues, say, the best thing that will help mom or dad feel better or help make this easier, or your way of helping is to, listen when we ask you to do something, making sure you're still paying attention in school, those types of things. And then, of course, too, some positive reinforcement when they're doing that. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for cleaning up your toys the first time that I asked. That's so helpful to me when I'm not feeling well, or those types of things.
Yeah, that's good. That's great information. Now, another question we have here is, should I discuss my diagnosis with my child, or should I involve other people when I do have this discussion with my child? And then the second part is, are there any specific details I should leave out when discussing my cancer diagnosis with my child?
So again, I will say, you're the expert on your child. If you think that you can sit down and have a one-on-one conversation and feel like that environment will be enough support for your child, then by all means. If you feel like you need to have other family members present to help support you through that, because it can be difficult to have this conversation. I call it a courageous conversation. They can be difficult to have. So if you feel like it would be helpful to have, members of your extended support system present, by all means do that. If you think it would be helpful to have it in a more structured environment, such as like a family therapy session or something like that, then by all means, I would say find a licensed marriage and family therapist and do that. That can help in that regard. In regards to what's sharing too much, what's sharing too little, you know what's going to be best and what's going to feel most meaningful and honoring to and for you. I do think a lot of times, especially when it comes to cancer and children's knowledge of that, they think of death, which is very common for even the average adult. They hear of somebody being diagnosed with cancer and they do think of death. So I would say, be prepared to answer those questions. And be open and honest. It's okay to say, I sure hope not. I'm going to be working really hard with the doctors to make sure that I don't die and can be here for a very long time. So being honest in the fact that you don't know, but that you're going to be doing everything that's kind of recommended to help with that. Again, sometimes there are some details that maybe don't necessarily need to be shared. For example, if it's all the nitty gritty of all the possible side effects or something of a medication that you may experience, it may not necessarily be helpful for your child to hear all of those different types of things and stuff like that. But I do think it would be helpful to, at the very least, to name the diagnosis again. You can just say cancer. If you feel like they would understand saying, oh, it's breast cancer, prostate cancer, any other type of cancer, those types of things, by all means, sharing that, explaining in an age-appropriate way what that means, what the treatment is going to look like, and that you're going to be doing your best working with your care team to make sure that you can get better and be healthy and strong.
Okay. Now, in all reality, we do have patients who have a metastatic disease, and that can be very scary. So what is the best way to bring up a metastatic diagnosis, or do you even recommend bringing up a metastatic diagnosis to your children?
Again, I feel like I can't say what's best, right? Because my way of approaching something may be very different than someone else's way of approaching it. So I do say, ask yourself, okay, is this going to be meaningful and honoring to and for me? And if yes, then that is your best way of handling and approaching it. It can be more difficult with a metastatic illness. But again, I think honesty is the best policy. I think it is okay to share, based on where your child is in their development, the cancer has spread and the doctors are concerned because it has spread. Here's what they're going to do to try to help control the cancer. Mm-hmm. And you can say that. Again, there may be the question of, are you going to die? You could be honest and say, there is a possibility that I may die from this. I'm going to be working with my care team really, really hard to make sure that we find the best treatment that will help keep me around for as long as possible. It can be hard to have those conversations. And if you aren't there yet as the patient to have the conversation, that is also okay. But I would, share with your child, it's really difficult for me to talk about that because I'm so scared. Mm-hmm. And when I feel a little bit better, when I get some more information, we'll talk about this, Sometimes things that are helpful is, you can do like a little worries box with your child. And this even works for adolescents as well too, where you could have it be a family thing where the box is in a central location and everybody from the family puts their worries into the box. And then maybe, once a week or something like that, you guys sit and you talk about those things. You talk about, what's going on, what everybody's worried about, what everybody's concerned about, because then it gives everybody a safe space to know, hey, these are my questions. It can help, them to feel like, okay, I'm not the only one that has this question about mom or dad or those types of things. It can really give an opportunity for everyone to come together as a familial unit, to kind of have those conversations, bridge those gaps, and foster those relationships.
Great. Very valuable information. And our last question here is, we have moms and dads in treatment, and we want to give everything to our children and make sure we're doing everything right as a parent, but that can bring those goals can bring on a sense of guilt when things don't go the way you have planned for your child. What are some ways that you can work towards getting rid of some of that guilty feeling that they have?
Yeah, right. I think as a parent, there's usually some natural guilt that comes up about things and stuff like that. It's okay to reprioritize if you're going through cancer treatment and things like that. So maybe prior to being diagnosed with cancer, your house is always spick and span. There are never dishes in the sink, those types of things. So maybe now, if you don't have the energy and effort, maybe you sacrifice, letting a few dishes being in the sink to have quality time with your kids or something like that. Or maybe it's, when friends and family are like, hey, how can I help you? What can I do for you? Saying, hey, you know what, it could really help me if you could take my son or daughter, to their extracurricular activity. Can you do pick up, drop off for me? Or, hey, I promised them I would take them to McDonald's or something like that. I don't have the energy. Could you run to McDonald's for me and get them a Happy Meal or something? Or, hey, would you mind coming and washing the dishes for me so I can spend time with them or something like that? Most people in your support system that are asking, how can I help you? How can I show up for you today? Would be more than willing to do those types of things. And so just giving yourself grace, giving yourself permission to know this is just what the situation is right now. It's awful. It's difficult. Allow yourself the space to process that and make any adjustments along the way. It's all about balance, not perfection.
Great. That's really helpful advice. All of the information's been great that you've provided us with today. I just appreciate you being with us today, Jessica, and addressing this really tough topic with our patients. Thank you so much.
No, it's my pleasure. Take care.
Thank you for joining us for our virtual Lunch and Learn series. We hope you enjoyed this session. There will be a replay of this Lunch and Learn on the Ironwood YouTube and social media channels. For more information regarding our supportive care services classes and events, email us at wellness@ironwoodcrc.com. Thank you for spending time with us today.